Hello.
All right, hi everyone. I'm just going to give everyone just 1 minute to log in and let everyone get settled before we start. So just a few seconds. Okay, let's begin. So welcome everyone to this Monday on our 35th town hall. Let's get started. So the first update is actually from me, and it's about our offsite. So I sent out a questionnaire last week asking what people's dates are for availability. We've landed on the dates of Monday, September 16th through Thursday, September 19th, and the location will be in Istanbul, Turkey. I will be sending out more information about the agendas and booking. All that information will be coming out soon. So all you need to do now is just make yourself available for those days, and then more information is to follow. Up next, we have Carl with the finance update. Carl?
Great. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Cool. So yeah, I just wanted to give a quick update and recap of our finances. So I think it's first sort of worth repeating the overall strategy with the use of funds, as it does create some constraints on how we're thinking about budgets. So as stated a few times before, like it's early, we really need to think long term, and hence why half of the crowd sale proceeds in ETH won't be touched until Status is ready for more widespread use. So this is to ensure we have significant budget for user acquisition and that the tools we're building will have real impact. So subsequently, we do have a limited amount of fiat and ETH to sustain us until this point, or until we've successfully found methods of generating value. So the good news is, if you've been following the crypto markets at all the past few weeks, there has been some recovery, which is great, not only for us, but the industry as a whole. And as mentioned, we already have enough runway in fiat alone to take the whole team through to the next year. So this does hinge upon us sticking to the more stringent budgets we already put in place. So we can't deviate too far from these at this stage, even with the upturn in the market. That being said, we're very cognizant that a lot of the team took pay cuts in December, and it's something we're incredibly grateful for because it's helped secure Status's future and it's kept the project alive. And so when it's financially viable and sensible, we certainly still aim to reverse those cuts. We're wary of committing to specific dates right now, given the volatility is still there, but we're closely monitoring the situation and we're investigating potential scenarios should the market continue to recover. So I expect that in the coming months or weeks, if we're lucky, we'll have some further news and updates there. And so lastly, I'd just say that we don't want to fall into any of the same traps again, and focusing on providing financial security is absolutely paramount. So if you'd like to chat with me about it or with Danny, please feel free to reach out. And yeah, that's it from me. Thanks, everyone.
All right, I'll quickly jump in on the previous slide to talk about kind of what the thinking is around what the focus will be in the second half of the year. This is quite early, and so I think the main purpose is just to share where the mindset is at from a kind of longevity standpoint to ensure that Status can continue for the long term. So once the application launches in hopefully sometime in Q3, we'll talk about that a tiny bit later, the second half of the year will really focus on creating value for Status. And now value creation is a little bit of a nebulous term because it's not really revenue, but what does value mean? So you can kind of think of it in two broad buckets. One is increasing the utility of SNT, and that means to implement, build, and optimize all our SNT utility features in order to have SNT be a critical component in the application success and everything surrounding the Status ecosystem. So Talent Network, for example. So that's what one focus will be. And then second, for those teams where it makes sense, it will then be a revenue-focused value creation. So for example, Keycard actually can generate revenue. So those will be the two things that we'll focus on. And as I said, right now this is early, and it's just something for us to kind of share and discuss and consult as a team to say, okay, what does that look like for each area? Where does it make sense to focus on S&T utility versus actually, here's an opportunity to generate revenue through whatever means. So that will be a theme going forward. And for us to actually do that, we need the application to be launched and for it to be stable. So that's just kind of a little bit of a glimpse as to what we'll be kind of thinking about and talking about and investing in going into the second half of the year. Any questions about that, by the way, just ping me or you can bring it up at the end of the town hall. All right, on to the next topic, which is a quick janitors update. The main theme here is on getting the application out there by the end of Q2, and we'll have a specific update on that. So our target is to be a code freeze at the end of the quarter, which will allow us to initiate and start our security audit. And obviously, as we know from last year for our beta launch, the security audit is not short. It's, it could be anywhere between, say, 4 and 8 weeks. And then after that, we need to, clean up the bugs or security holes or flaws or compromises or whatever comes out of it. So we want to be code freeze as soon as possible, and then start the security audit after that. The main areas of importance are in application performance, as well as in the UI polish. So those are the main areas that we need to kind of focus in on the next month. When it comes to using Rike, this is kind of on the side, but it would be great if, as teams are working on various elements, please be sure to add timelines so we know like when something can get done or when a dependency will be completed so we can start working on the next step. And second, and this is, it's great to see so much adoption because this is like the type of thing that now we're working to improve, is adding progress. So whether something is being worked on or it's on hold or it's been completed really helps to say, okay, well, this has now been done, even though, it was meant to be, even though it's meant to be completed in a week, it's now completed so we can move forward with whatever the dependency is. So please make sure to add the progress to all the tasks. Anything that is synchronized with GitHub actually gets, automatically gets the, when the pull requests merge or an issue is closed in GitHub, it automatically gets completed in Rike. So that's not an issue. All right, so now some interesting stats and graphs. It's a bit blurry here. Hopefully it's coming through, but this is where we are at in terms of our development for V1. I try to squeeze as much into the chart as possible. What you're seeing is for onboarding and multi-account, the folders have been open so you can see things in a bit more detail, and the rest have been closed just because there wasn't enough space on the screen. But what you can see is you can kind of see dark bars, and then you can see basically larger bars below it. So the dark bars were where our progress was a week ago, and the larger ones are where we are now. So if you click to the next slide, you can actually see basically our progress update from last week to today. And you probably take this with a grain of salt because we're still getting the timelines finalized. But what we can see is actually here's the updated timelines from where we were last week as to where we are now. And you can see onboarding, for example, where think the timeline has moved forward by 3 days. Multi-account support, which has been going through some awesome and awesome specification phase, actually has is 27 has been moved forward by 27 days and now slips into July. So this helps us say, okay, well, this work that we thought was going to be done in Q2 is now going to bleed into Q3. Can we potentially parallelize some of the work? Can we get more resources onto it rather than it being a surprise at the end of the quarter, like, oh no, why is it taking so long? So this, even though it seems like it's a lot of work, it actually helps a lot in identifying where the critical path is or where the long pull is, and we can potentially work to improve that. So thank you to everyone who's been working to get this data kind of clean. data in equals data out, and we're able to really help keep things on track and identify like where potential teams need help, where potentially teams have excess can go work on other stuff. Anyway, so this is the kind of the Gantt chart view. As you can see from this slide, by end of July, we're looking to be code complete. If we can pull forward the multi-account work, which right now is some of it, it's, there's the go, I won't go into detail, but point being, we can work to improve these timelines. We immediately understand exactly where we are in terms of development. All right, next slide, before I keep going on. This is another cool indicator of how things are going. So you can say there's 127 tasks in total to complete V1. We have completed 49 of them, and there are 11 overdue, 14 should be done this week, and 15 backlogged. 32 will be done later. So this basically helps indicate progress and see how we're doing. It's kind of like a burn down chart, but focus on a specific project. I think there's one more slide, or is that it? Yeah. So the last thing that the janitors are focusing on right now is trying to improve the swarm process going into Q3. And there's two areas that, one area of success I think we found, and one area that we can improve. The area of success has been, Guy has really kicked off a really good specification phase for the multi-account work, which involved 1 week, you could call them sprints or iterations, basically trying to get the design and the architecture down packed. And it took 5 weeks, so it wasn't a short amount of time, but it made sure that what we're building is exactly the right thing. So amazing work by everyone involved in that. And I'll be following up to try and get that documented so we can add it to the Swarm template. The areas that I think we can improve on, I think it has to do with gating between these milestones. So as I said, multi-account Swarm did it pretty well. But when we go between the research phase and then we have a gate to the specification phase and then another gate before implementation starts, how can we streamline that? So how can we streamline that so it's not a clunky experience, so that it doesn't feel like people are blocked by a process, or the process actually happened? So that's something that I think we need to work on. I'll be putting up a post on Discuss so that people can share any ideas we have, just so that we can get better at that part of the Swarm process. And that's it from me. So just ping me if you have any questions on anything we've gone through, or we can ask questions at the end of Town Hall.
Hey, thanks, Nabil, for that update. All right, next we have token economics, and I don't know if this is with Barry or with Corey.
It's Corey.
Hey, Corey.
Hello, everyone. Quick update on token economics. Last week, it was the week before, I forget, time's flying by, in ETH New York, or Blockchain Week in New York, we spent some time, me, Jakob, Johnny, and Barry spent some time building the process for embedding all of Barry's observable HQ notebooks into Ghost, so that makes our blog posts interactive. So as you're learning about these different use cases and how they work, you'll be able to play with all the levers and knobs that change the parameters to see how that changes the outcome. So I'm still trying to make it a little smoother and seamless, but we definitely got it working. And the first draft for ENS usernames is currently in review. Johnny has done quite a bit of work to get the marketing bill of materials done, and a timeline of things that need to be released. The audience for all of these blogs is tailored towards people who want to know how each of these S&T utility use cases work, and how value flows in and out, and how that could potentially affect either the ecosystem as a whole, or other use cases. And so we're going to build out this initially through just the S&T use cases we're going to ship, and then we'll start doing more analysis on how they interact with each other, or fun things we could do to upgrade them, and so on and so forth. So ENS username should be done by this week and out, and DApp curation, or the DApp store, will come next. And that's all I got.
Great, thanks for the update, Corey. All right, next we're going to jump into Swarm updates. And first update we have is with Igor and core improvements.
Hi everyone, it's not Igor, it's Anna. I will
I'm
help
so
Igor
sorry,
today.
Anna.
No problem. So first of all, we are going to release next mobile app release this week, and it has a very exciting number 13. From core improvements team, this release would include report a bug feature. So if you're the old user of the app, you still remember Instabug reports when you can shake the device and get the like some screen where you can report a bug to the team. So now you will be able to send email with attached logs and like some steps to reproduce if you describe them, to report some issues that you experience to the status team. And another feature is being able to retrieve up to 30 days of history in public chat. So if you're interested in some older messages and you just joined the chat, now you will get possibility to see not only the last day or 24 hours of the previous message history, but you can retrieve day by day and travel in time up to 30 days in the past. So what we're working on right now in core improvements, so it's not yet in the release, but probably will be in the next one. It's okay, maybe not in the next one, but partially. So it's also moving protocol to status go that also should give us improvements on the performance side. And it's still in the VIP, same as speeding up mail servers that like has several things to improve, and now it's like about the database we'll use for the message history. So again, it's ready for testing, but again, work is in progress. Also for app performance improvements, we already have a couple of PRs in testing that would bring us, like as you see, 25 to 35 faster startup. Sorry, 25 to 35% faster startup than before, and these numbers depends, of course, on the on your device speed. So if you have slower device, then it will be like 35% of improvement. If you have faster device, then it's 25 or so percent of improvement. The next one that again still in progress, but should give us even more improvements in the performance is this closure script modules PR, and expected to improvements we will get is from 60 to 65% of faster loading when you start the app. So when you touch on the icon and then when you get the first screen of the app. We also would like to thank you, the community. We have 2 bounties now. One is already merged, that is blank out app preview screen. So when you switch your app between others, you can set the mode that your preview screen will be actually blank. So for example, if you're on the wallet screen, nobody will see your whatever wallet balance, or I don't know, some secret chat that you don't want to reveal. And another PR is a biometric authentication to log into the app. So it's only for logging in, but still it's a huge thing. It's still, at least today, it's being tested, and I hope that will be merged soon. So not in the upcoming release, but probably one more release, you will get this Touch ID to log in, hopefully. Also, I need to mention that we are working on reproducible Android builds, and as you see, we still like we already used all the space on the slide, but it's not in the slide, but I will mention it anyway. We also have the 2-pane UI for mobile app that again is still VIP. It's for bigger screens and for landscape mode, so you have a better UI when you're working there. So that's it from our side.
Great, thanks so much, Anna. All right, now we're going to jump to Andre with Core UI update.
Yeah, hello everyone. So our team is doing great. So custom tokens has been merged and will be available in the next release. And also, first part of ENS usernames is on review, and work still in progress. And performance improvements in wallet has been merged as well, and we continue to work on wallet improvements and performance and improving the transaction history. And onboarding screens in draft and work in progress on account selection from 5 generated accounts. And we started work on transaction overview screen. And we have some demos.
All right, do you guys just want me to play this, or does anybody want to give a little context in this demo?
I can comment during the demo. Yeah.
I'll play it.
Can you open full screen? So we have a new item in Manage Assets. You can add a custom token. So you can go to EtherScan and find your token you want to add. And next, you can copy the contract address and paste it in status. If you have balance, you can see your balance. And you can use it as the regular default tokens in status. You can send it in wallet. And also in chat commands, it can be requested or sent as well. And also, we are implementing the long press action on items, and you can see the token details screen on long press. Also, you can remove custom token, and you can see default token detail screen.
Cool, really awesome to see. Now I think you have one more, correct?
Yep.
All right, here we go.
Yeah, here is work still in progress, so maybe some small things here. So now we have ENS usernames in profile, and there is no DAP here used, so it's you can verify and register your name directly in the status. So you can see it's already taken name, and yeah, it's still in progress, so maybe some mistakes here. So, and if it's available, it's just so easy to register your name. Yep.
Great, thanks so much. Those are really great to see. Okay, I think we have one more screen. Oops, sorry. All right, Andre, do you want to jump back into this?
Yeah, now it's me. So I'm gonna walk you through through some updates that are still in progress and they're gonna be implemented soon. So first of all is the new onboarding flow. We changed and improved the onboarding a lot, starting from the beginning where we show the value proposition. These are the screens. And the next slide, please. Then we changed instead of asking users for entering their password or something else, we decided to be more interesting in telling the story of how to set up your account. So first we ask to generate a key, and then to choose one from of the 5 available options of a key and name. So that just giving a bit of a context, before we just we were giving out names to people without them having a choice, actually. Now we have 5 different options to choose from. The next slide, please. After you got a name, you can now choose where you wish to store your key. And since now there's the key card, we have a key card as an option. And then you encrypt your key. And the next slide, please. Speaking of the key card, now it's part of the onboarding also. We created the whole flow for setting it up once you first use it. And the next slide, please. And we redesigned the backing of the seed phrase process a little bit so that it's going to be much more easy to back it up and confirm that instead of writing down, instead of typing in the words, we just added drag and drop as an option. So that should be much more quick and easy for users to accomplish this little task. And I guess that might be it.
Yes, all right. Thank you both so much for those updates. Really great to see. Now let's jump to status teller network with Yuri.
All right, so very good progress on the teller network. We're now in a state that it's pretty much finalized in the sense that we most plugs are being all ironed out, and we could go live if we wanted to. Now what we're doing is really R&D on the different aspects to really take it to the next level. Namely in terms of scaling, the privacy part, and also feeless transactions. From all of this, what we're focusing right now, it's really on the feeless transactions, so buyers can use the application without having crypto initially. And after we're done with that, we'll move for the confidential transactions for users that might want to do particular transactions that way. And for the next slide. For the liquid funding, we also did very good progress. So we created this new application. It's a command line DApp with this sort of like old school menus. And you can use this tab right now. It can use both development or Robston. And the idea here is really for us to test it out. And if we're happy with it, then we can actually deploy to production and start using this in the production context. That's it.
Cool. Thanks so much, Yuri. All right, now we are jumping to Ricardo with Utopic Democracy. Ricardo?
Hi. So this swarm has been in lower priority this week, but I've been doing the research on identity and public profile to the delegates. So the delegates would be able to list their profile and their curriculum to other people to know, so the people can know that they are willing to be delegates, and this public profile can be probably useful for other applications, because I'm trying to build it up inside of ENS in ENS usernames, and yeah, that's it. The research for this week.
Great, thanks so much, Ricardo. All right, now we're on to Oscar with Protocol. Oscar?
Hi, everyone. So this last few weeks, we have sort of been working on integrating minimum viable data sync into the console client. The sort of rough setup works. There's a few bugs that have to be fixed in the console client before we can be sure that it works actually end to end. But this is using sort of Whisper and our existing protocol, so it's actually integrated end to end. As part of that is also sort of moving the protocol into the app. So once that's done and the bugs are ironed out, then we can actually use data sync at least natively. So we're going to continue working on that, and then the next step is actually having simulations and some stress testing, specifically when it comes to large group chats and so on. And that will also inform sort of how much further work we have to do in terms of research and when we can use data sync and these types of things. We also have last few weeks sort of a rough draft of a sort of paper on data sync, and this compared to the other one, the previous one, is less sort of just a survey, but kind of starts off with the survey, but then it's more our specific requirements and sort of rough solution and so on. Probably going to hold on that a bit until we have finalized some of the sort of Gnolly scalability issues and so on, and then resume that. We also, it's not mentioned here, but Dean and some other people were at New York and did a mobile ad sort of mesh network hackathon proof of concept, which is really cool because what it allows you to do is essentially send transactions or even sort of general messaging without having access to internet. So you sort of use Bluetooth and these types of technologies, and then you have a real layer for sending it out into actual internet and so on. So it's a sort of proof of concept, but it also ties into our general effort on making status more transport independent. So you would have data synchronization, but then you can switch out the transport underneath. So sweep up Whisper for MixNet or PSS or this type of mesh networking. Also, we made a decision. There was this proposal on top negotiation with the goal of reducing bandwidth substantially, as well as keeping compatibility. And Andrea's been doing some great work there. And we had the decision last core dev call to go through with it, with the proposal as said and discussed, hoping to get sort of the actual code that merged this week. There's a bunch of tweaks that we done to do that. And then this week, we also, a bunch of us went to the Swarm Summit. So it was me, Eric, Jared, and Jacek. And it's really cool to see. Swarm is one of the oldest products in space and sort of part of the original Holy Trinity vision, but that's sort of been lost a bit. And it's kind of been revitalized recently. So there's a lot more new energy and sort of partnerships and these sorts of things. So it's really cool to see. And it's very sort of fundamental to a lot of technology that we want to build. And both when it comes to communication and data storage and things like Swarm feeds and so on. So a lot of fundamental stuff. I guess Swarm, just as a brief download, Swarm, there's a lot of stability issues that still have to be worked out, but they are sort of working on that. And yeah, it's not too far off from actually being useful. I think for us specifically, one thing is being able to, because we've had this issue where we're sort of using gate nodes for a lot of stuff, or we have problems with battery usage and so on. So trying to sort of take the live client concept, but spending more effort on it and also turning it into something that's more like maybe adaptive nodes, which is not the gateway and it's not a full node, but something in between and something that adapts to your resources. So maybe you don't want to sync stuff while you are on 3G, but while you're on Wi-Fi, you want to do it. And maybe on desktop, you can be a bit more useful and so on. And it's kind of a very general problem, and it should really be our sort of core competency, considering most people don't spend a lot of time on this, and we are sort of a mobile app, and sort of, yeah, this is really our problem. So we're looking into sort of working more closely with the Swarm team on sort of making this happen as a sort of Swarm-like client or adaptive node. So that's something that's going to come over the next few months, most likely. I guess in conjunction with that, we've also been doing a bit of preliminary planning on how to get Nimbus into the app. And this would be one such opportunity where we'd really have sort of control and can iterate quickly and sort of have the whole adaptive node. So that's a general thing that exists in the app and as well as on desktop and these other things. So more on that later. Yeah, I think that's it. The main things is sort of getting the topic net negotiation merged, and then getting actual data sync into the app and doing some stress testing and so on. That's it for me. Thank you.
Great. Thanks so much, Oscar. All right. And Dab Store with Andy.
Hey, everybody. So this is also moving along nicely. I don't have quite the screen share skills that Andre does to show you where we are, but you can go and check out the first version on dap.ps. We've been working over the last 2 weeks to implement the smart contract functionality and actually actually give users the ability to vote with their SNT. That is moving along. We've got some minor issues along with some other teams around caching content in IPFS. So looking into that this week and trying to figure out alternative solutions. There's been some interesting stuff going on with Swarm, as Oscar has already mentioned. So we are not too far away from a version 2 release, hopefully. Certainly before the end of Q2, like Nabil mentioned, everything is looking good. Most of the work has been done. It's just behind the scenes stuff that is still required and should be done this week. And then we've just got sort of final audits and some testing still to do. So it's looking good, and there should be a series of blog posts coming out detailing exactly how the curve works in tandem with other S&T use cases that Corey was talking about. So yeah, and everything is looking good in the Swarm.
Great, thanks for the update, Andy. And I believe tribute to talk with Eric. Eric, are you there?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so regarding tribute to talk, we were in testing until last week, and it came out that the IPFS gateway we're using was not reliable enough for this particular feature. And since Swarm has fixed the bug with feeds, we're going back to that. So in the next days, I will push Pierre to make use of Swarm. And since we are not sure with these distributed file systems if we can run 100% on it, we are going to go back to the initial contract solution that we had as well. So basically, we're going to make a hybrid where for free people can use Tribute to Talk, but there will be this slight chance that other users won't see that they have Tribute to Talk set, so they will not be paid for talking. But if they are willing to pay and have on-chain contract that say they are using Tribute to Talk, then they can have 100% reliability on the feature. And yeah, so that's pretty much it for now.
Great, thanks, Eric. And I believe that was our last update. So now we're going to jump into some Q&A. All questions were submitted from the status group, status-townhall-questions. So the first one, this question was, is status in talks with any phone providers? Also, could you say more on the Maker partnership? So I guess to answer this question, is status in talks with any phone providers? I don't know the background of that, but
yes, we are, but we can't really talk about who just at this moment.
okay. And then any more? Could we say any more? I guess on the Maker partnership. Anything?
Does someone else want to field that question? Because I haven't been super involved in it.
Johnny, you on the call?
I don't believe Johnny's on the call, but
Okay. Oh no, that's right. Johnny's in flight.
yeah. I'll just mention it to Johnny and maybe.
No, that's okay. I can talk quickly on the Maker. It's not so much. I mean, as far as I know, it's not like a big partnership. Basically, we're looking to work with them to use DAI in the telenetwork. So it's not like it's not a huge partnership type thing. It's just because one of the big utilities of the telenetwork is store of value in some specific developing markets. So if we could work with, for example, Latin America, so if we could work with Maker to use the telenetwork to allow people to convert their fiat into DAI.
Yeah, so like the telenetwork is really targeting remittance, and there's many transactions globally or internationally are essentially sending money back and forth between families, and having a stable currency to do that in would be hugely beneficial for people in countries far away. So yeah, that's pretty much it.
Great, thanks guys. All right, jumping on to this second question is, can Tribute to Talk allow for basic wallet privacy? I won't read this whole other paragraph here, but does anybody, I guess, have a comment on any of this or an answer?
I mean, so the way to get like real privacy as far as like transactions go, and in the wallet, there's two things that we're working on at the moment. One is we're working on this multi-account stuff within the wallet. So you'll be able to spin up new addresses as much as you like, as well as do custom derivations and even import other keys. In addition to that, like we're looking at things like the Aztec protocol and mixing services that are on chain to alleviate that. I don't know if Tributed Talk itself gives you basic wallet privacy, but in like the upcoming versions of Status, your public key that you use for chatting and the address that you use for transacting will be different. In the future, we also have some other plans, but stay tuned for that.
Great.
Yeah, regarding privacy, the best solution probably is to have the separation of identities, just what Jared mentioned. And so users need to have a separate wallet and a separate chat. Regarding Tributed Talk, I see that this is a concern, and Eric is also working a lot to doesn't expose users in privacy. That's why we are trying to use Swarm or EPFS to store the payment information. But also, when we have the separation of the chat in the wallet, we probably would be able to implement in a way that users pay from wallet to wallet, and they chat in other identities. So it's not really connected, this contact list to the payment, as you mentioned it. But of course, this doesn't solve the privacy concern fully. That will only happens when we have mixers implemented and users can like laundry their history to not be able to be traced anymore. So yeah, that's the plan to have it, but we are not starting with it. We are just like using Tributed Talk to look like as a regular SNT transfer. So you cannot tell that user paid a Tributed Talk. They just made a transfer. And then in the future, we're going to improve this privacy to don't expose any information to the other people. So you can just chat with other people and they won't know your how much tokens you own. That's the plan that we want to achieve.
All right, thanks guys. And the last question from submitted was, in lieu of OKR, how will Status make sure new project management tools and concentration on critical paths will not create much movement in lieu of outcomes? Is this a Reich answer?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I mean, like I think Reich is in terms of how we're actually evolving beyond OKRs. I mean, OKRs do make sense in certain situations, but I think we're getting a lot more visibility into our timelines with things like Reich, and we're certainly going to be able to iterate on that and learn from our past mistakes even more so. So yeah.
Cool. All right. Yeah. Thanks, Jared. And then that was it for as far as the questions submitted from the town hall group. But we have just one last question that was submitted from YouTube. And someone asked, are there plans to do a translation of the app to different languages, such as Spanish and Portuguese?
Yeah, I think that we definitely do. I do think we do have translations for a variety of languages. And we're trying to improve the tooling around that so it's easier to make contributions for different languages as well.
Yeah, there's awesome work that's been done. Oh, sorry, go ahead, Anna.
Just a small note, like the translations you will see if your phone has that language that you want. So for example, if you want to see Chinese translation of the app, then your phone should get the
it's based on
language in the settings. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
That's a small note, that's all.
Great. All right. And those were all the questions that were submitted. Does anybody else have any questions they want to ask right now? Going once, going twice. All right, then that wraps up this town hall today. I hope everyone has a good rest of your day, and I'll see you guys in 2 weeks. Bye, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Ciao.
Thanks.